Hello, and today I'm going to be speaking about the concept of fear and how all fear, all enemies, all hatred, everything you fear is inside yourself and it's nowhere else. What I've come to the conclusion of in my life is that all the fears that I've conquered in myself have allowed me to come to almost like figuring out almost like a landscape or an architecture of fear within the collective fields and the collective grids of the planet. And it works a little bit like a contagious virus, I find. So think about things on the news, things on, social media, all these things. The more veils that come down in your auric field and the more trash and trauma that you clear out of your body, the more receptive and the more that antenna just pings all the time, and you're feeling energy as if it's more sticky. So you're looking at a social media post, you're becoming the social media post. You are absorbing the energy of that person as if they are in the room with you. And the thing is, when all your energy systems are blocked and clogged and all these things of modern society with all the programming, you can't feel these things and know these things. But I've found, especially in the most concentrated form, my work with ayahuasca in Peru, the ancient brew that's been used for thousands of years in South America, and for healing and purification, like a purge of your body, of your emotions, all these things, and also psilocybin mushrooms. But what they do is they bring all that fear and all that anger and all that clogged up, blocked energy, and what they do is they show you that all the things that you think you fear outside of yourself are really just inside yourself. They're inside of you. And every person that works on conquering their own fears becomes, in other words, I believe they're poking holes in that source field. They are poking holes in those fear grids. But really, because the entire universe is contained within me, and it's also contained within you. We're all the same thing. We have heart telepathy, we have mind telepathy. We're literally the same thing. I'm a fractal of you, you're a fractal of me. So everyone, when you conquer fear and you destroy, shatter fear, bring up traumas, confront that childhood trauma or whatever it is, violence or anything that's clogged in you that you've been holding on to, you're doing service for the entire planet. And I believe that fear is an artificial construct, and shame and guilt. But the thing is, we often are not actually aware of it, that it is governing our entire reality. And this gets me into the fact, this is getting deeper, but that most of your thoughts in your life aren't even yours. You inherit through your DNA, through the energy fields, this is well documented through epigenetics, your grandfather or your father, all these things that are passed down through soul groups and generations. And so I could have had a great-great-grandfather that was an alcoholic, or, another one 10 generations back that was a murderer, or one that was crazy, or all these things that you have no clue about. And when you incarnate into a lineage, you are taking them all on, and you previously agreed to say, yeah, I can reverse these things, and there's things that there's going to be challenges, but there's also going to be rewards. Every soul group, every family, every ancestry has that. No one's perfect. No one's like squeaky clean. Somewhere in your DNA, there's ancestral trauma to be cleared, whatever it is. And it has nothing to do with nurture. You're born with it. You're born into it and you choose it. So my point is, it's more of a field. And when fear lives inside your cells and it lives in your DNA, and it's been, these energy fields over millennia have been covering the planet, and we're working on slowly, bursting through it and all this stuff, you can't really know it. I would say the first time I ever saw that was the way that the world worked, or the way that you have something inside yourself, but then you really just outpicture it. You outpicture it in your reality, because we live in a holographic reality, and you create that screen, but it's created in here, really. The first time I saw that when I was 21, I took mushrooms in Indonesia on a beach, my cousin and my brother. And it was the first psychedelic experience I ever had in my whole life. And there's things, if you ask anyone that's done it, you can't really explain it in words, and you feel like you don't even really need to, because it's to the initiated, you just see things and know things that they can never be described, and they can never be, put into a book and say, oh, just learn all this. No, it's something that has to be experienced firsthand. Because what it does is, you come face to face with all of this, not only the collective unconscious, but your unconscious and all the things that you've been suppressing and hiding underneath your gut, or even traumas that you've forgotten about. But we don't know it because everyone else in our society is operating in the same kind of fear ceiling, but you don't know it's there. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you ask someone in my life, they'll say, I don't know, Peter just started making these videos and Peter just started putting this stuff out. But previously, I would have never dreamed of doing something like this. I would have been way too terrified. Like the me of a couple years ago, people were really, really shocked that, okay, the shy, introverted kid that really doesn't do anything like this, and now all of a sudden he's doing it. Well, why did this happen? This didn't happen because I built myself up, I got courage, I got this, I got that. What happened was I cleared and cleansed fear out of my body. Do you know what I mean? It's not about building yourself up, it's about cleansing all the fear programs, all the indoctrination programs that are in your DNA, mind programs. That's the hardest thing, when you cross that veil of knowing that, oh wow, my thoughts aren't actually really mine, because I'm contained within everything. I'm part of many intelligences, and most of the time the things that come through me, that God energy, that God force, or channeling as I call it, when you clear out all the mind junk, is not even mine, because I'm you and you're me and we're all everything. You see what I mean? So my point is that the fear that governs your reality, that most of my life before I saw this old window open up or just see through it with the psychedelics, was, oh, you just don't do those things and you just don't say those things because that's just the way it is. I would never put something out on the internet with me speaking, or I would never, make this video or put this writing out or do that just because, oh, that's the way it is and that's what my family does. And there's all these just imaginary architecture and scaffolding of fear, and then you just smash them and shatter them. And I'm not saying it's easy. There is nothing more scary that I can think of in my life than an intense mushroom trip, intense ayahuasca trip, because you are faced with all the fear in your gut, all the fear everywhere in you. But what you realize is, when you face fears in yourself and you conquer fears in yourself, you are changing the entire source field of humanity. There's an experiment, the guy, I forgot his name, this British guy did experiments, but he proved something about morphogenetic fields, essentially, that if monkeys, when a monkey learns how to do something new or breaks a code or sort of learns a new skill, it is unlocked for that whole species. It's the same thing with humans. When you unlock codes and you break through and shatter fear, when you heal ancestral trauma in your DNA, when you come out the other end of some mushroom trip or whatever it is, you heal these things, you cry these emotions out of your body. Because that's what all fear is at its essence. It's just clogged, stuck emotions in your body. And maybe they're not even yours. Maybe they're just in the source field. Maybe they're a collective. Maybe, because if you're sensitive, you'll pick up on everything and everyone. Maybe it's just your ancestors. Maybe it's your families. Maybe you signed up to clear that for the collective. But this illusion that everything's supposed to be perfect, everything's perfect. No, you incarnated into human body to have challenges. So yes, you wanted to clear things. But yes, maybe you have a family that's super hard-nosed, hard-working, disciplined. But at the same time, there's a lot of, you get all the perks of that are in your DNA that are part of you, strong, hard work ethic, whatever. But then also on the flip side is, oh, you have to clear all this repressed trauma because we have this kind of tough guy mentality that has been passed down through however many generations, hundreds, maybe, whatever. Maybe there's violence, maybe there's harassment, maybe there's clogged up emotions and energy or secrets, and they're clogged in you, and you need to get them out, you need to cry them out. But that's the thing. I think a lot of people struggle with that, but I couldn't have known before I did all this work with mushrooms, ayahuasca, all this stuff of you get this education in you, in the soul and everything, in the source fields and energy, and you see that these things are literally not even yours. You inherited them. Because we're all one. We're literally interconnected in our hearts. You are the same branch of soul light that I am. We're the same thing. And yeah, I probably said that for many years just as some intellectual trope, but now I say it with the knowing of a feeling in my heart, because I've smashed all these heart layers down, and you see these things and opening your third eye, and these things are so shocking, and these revelations and learning about the interactions of energy, and ayahuasca and mushrooms helped me blast these doors open so that I could then walk. They give me such a deep knowing of energy, and they permanently open so many channels that in so much of this education in energetic interactions. So basically, what I would say is that fear, everything I've confronted in myself, every time I conquer a new fear or cry out more emotions, I get to a new level of freedom. A new level, okay, let me express it, let me do, I want to dance, I want to sing, I want to do this. There's more and more and more chains that we all incarnated as a collective together to break, because we're all one. There's no separation. There never was. We just have this amnesia and we think that we're separate humans, but we're the same thing. If you're healing, I'm healing. And if I'm healing, you're healing. Same source field, all of it. Same heart, same soul, same all of it. We're just fractals of the relative manifestation of consciousness, and who broke off from each other to experience new forms and to experience ourselves through new perceptual lenses. You know what I mean? Because that's the object of creation. Infinite, switching it up, getting new, creating through this avenue, through that avenue. It will never ever stop. Infinite creation, eternal new pathways, new creations. So what I want to say about fear is that's the illusion and that's the revelation, is that all these people had, parents, psychiatrists, whatever, had me pegged as, oh, he's crazy, he's depressed, he's anxious, he's shy, whatever. It's just a personality disorder. That's all it is. And he's just always, we got to put him on these pills or put him on that. But then when I find out, when I do my work with these sacred medicines, and then the integration work in between, I take it very seriously to spread it out, and, takes a lot of integration work too, but is that I learned that no, it's just that I'm hypersensitive to collective energies, but also the ancestral trauma that I inherited in my DNA. And that fear, or I would peg it for who's ever listening now, like think of that kind of vague malaise or vague thing that you feel when you think about, I want to express this, or I want to do that, or I wish I wrote a book, or I wish I made a movie, or I wish I did this with my life, but I just never could, because you just can't. You just can't, because that's just what I did, and that's just the way things are. Or I want to say this to this person or express this part of myself, but it just, things are the way they are, whatever, it's okay. I'll just put that away. And just what I would say in those moments, and I have the same thing, that's what I operated with most of my life. In those moments, you are taking instruction from those invisible fields of fear. They're literally invisible ceilings of fear, but I believe they actually live in your DNA and they outpicture in your reality. So when that fear programs or those fear energies are the predominant sort of mode or apparatus or modus operandi of our society, because you have that television pumping out fear, pumping out, all the trash in music and all that stuff. And, how many hundreds of thousands of TV deaths have you seen since you're 2 years old? And does the subconscious know the difference between a real death and a TV death? Or does it just store it exactly as is? You know what I'm saying? Watching the sensationalistic, violent news, wars, robberies, all these things. We are so embedded and caked into it like quicksand or mud that we don't even know that we live on the frequency state of fear as something that is normal. So it's funny because when I was, back before I did all this stuff and this awakening and all this stuff, like I would think of the version of me now as like a hippie, like, oh, it's crazy. Like, what is he doing that for? It's so weird. Like, it's crazy, drugs or what, and now I'm outside of it, and you can't see outside of it until you blast through it, because it is subconsciously governing your life. Those frequency fields of fear that are, like I said, are contagious with crowds, with television programming, with everything. It is so embedded in the fabric of who we really are. It's been passed down through so many generations. And to not take it personally and to know that we're all doing this together, we are all clearing these fears. If you clear fears in yourself, you're clearing it for everyone. So to know that fear, every time I've confronted fear, and think about this too, I often have because I'm better at taking the energetic temperature, gauging my moods, gauging stuck energies in my body, because I've cleared a lot of it out, or I've cleared blockages. Not perfect, and I still have a lot of issues with that, but feeling safe, feeling grounded. I've had some past life trauma with family members, and that's made me more defensive around family. And, my root chakra has always been something that's unstable, which has to do with, money, safety, sexuality, but what I would say is, what was I thinking? Damn it, I lost my train of thought. What I would say is every time I'll have days where I'm super angry or anxious and you can't think straight, you're just hyper, you're restless, you're overactive, you're trying to control things, or you're getting mad at people randomly. Now, since I'm better at taking temperature on who I am, I'm like, all right, let me go meditate for an hour or two, And sometimes what will happen is I'll cry during the meditation, or I'll feel energy moving through me. Maybe it's collective energy, maybe it's my own clogged, stuck energy that wants to come out, or cry or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that was just a distorted version of sadness or just stuck emotions that wanted to get out of my body. Simple as that. And think about all the delusions and lifetimes of delusion and stories and all these things that we create. My whole life I had no clue about all this, where you're just clogged up. And you create all these delusions, I'm this, I'm that, I can't think straight, or I have this illness, I have to take these pills and that. And then all these stories, when really it's just you need to get those emotions out of your body. You need to clear them out of you. And I know that what I say is very in opposition to the Western mental health system. So and that's not even to mention how many diseases, illnesses, cancers are a result from this repressed emotions. So, I would say that fear is imaginary in all its forms. I can tell you that, I can say that definitively in my own body, and I know it. It's an artificial program. There is no fear, there is no thing. The idea that governments are more powerful than us, religion, they know better, that there is this weird kryptonite or something that we have, that we are so subconsciously ingrained with the idea that there are little gods on the TV, or that this is the way it is and you just have to do it this way, and this is the way it's always been, and we are so religion, the little man in the sky and the God, and government is the big man in the sky, he's going to spank us if we're bad. It's everywhere. It's everywhere about who we are, and the fear and this giving our power away is so deeply ingrained that we don't even realize these imaginary chains of fear. So I'd say these grids of fear, when you confront your deepest, darkest sadness, so think about it. I mean, it even gives me chills thinking about it now when I think about my most difficult ayahuasca or psilocybin mushroom experiences, where I come face to face with that deep, ancient fear that could be even passed down through my ancestors, whoever, or childhood traumas, whatever it is. The point is, it's not all you. You are all of us. That's what I say when I mean it with all my heart and soul. When I say you're healing yourself, you're crying out emotions, I celebrate that. You're crying out emotions, you're crying out rage. It's ugly. It is very ugly. When I think about those emotions coming up from my gut, like a slithery, throwing my guts up in the middle of the jungle in Peru, it was hellish. Like yucking and just trying to get it out, on the my head on the toilet seat at 4 or 5 in the morning, just trying to get the rest of it out of me, because I knew it's essentially emotions that are stuck, rage, whatever, that materialize in physical form. And I would throw up this gunk that was it looked like it was 10 to 15 years old. It was like tire rubber that was caked up on my intestine. And we don't realize that there are actual emotions that materialize into physical. And then it literally, those thoughts, those feelings can create illness. And in the shaman's conception, there's absolutely no distinguishing physical from the emotional and spiritual and mental. It's all interconnected. So what I would say about fear is that we are all breaking and confronting our own inner fears. But when you confront your own inner fears, you are doing it for the entire universe. Because what we perceive before our eyes is a holographic reality. We are creating with our thoughts. It is a collective creation. And yeah, I've had a lot of changes in the way I perceive all this, but it is synthetic. It is a creation. Time is a construct. Space is a construct. They are synthetic. They are not real in the way that we think we are real. We have so much power as creators, as our higher selves, as our higher dimensional aspects, who created this entire experience. And the ancient programs that we are still running are the idea that we need to learn through fear, we need to learn through conflict, because we actually believe at a higher level that wars need to happen and all these things need to happen because we only know that way of learning. Because when you think about it, war and conflict and death, it's a learning experience. It really is. Those souls go on with very, very valuable experiences. Because we may have been making decisions or collective contracts at a higher level. I feel it first got turned on to this idea by Paul Selig's books, the I Am the Word series, but also the Seth books, both channel texts. And I've talked about them before, but this idea that we really truly are creating our entire experience together. It's a hologram. We're just not tapped into our power, and we've been disjointed and cut off from our true power and our true knowing of our multidimensionality. We all have that death urge. We all have that transcendence urge. Why is that in you? Tell me, why is that in you, that you want to have that mushroom trip or LSD, or you want to have that transcendence, and everyone is fighting to get free of these human suits because that's your soul talking to you, trying to tell you that we're multidimensional, we're infinite, we're eternal. You want to tap into that part of you that is existing outside of space and time. And I can tell you that when I've tapped into that, there's nothing more soul nourishing. There's nothing more, when I first had those experiences with mushrooms and ayahuasca, to show me, oh, I'm eternal, I'm infinite, and when I die, I'm just going to fall into this like massive bed of love. And even if I only had those one beginning experiences, I would still have that massive reassurance of, oh, this human body isn't really it. It's not the only finite thing. But that's what I believe is the foundation of fear. The very foundation of fear is your fear of death, because you think that death is real. But in my experience, in these so-called death experiences, or seeing the other side on mushrooms or ayahuasca, I see that, okay, it's not real in the way we think it's real, and you are everything that ever was and ever will be, and you just need to die to all that fear. So during those experiences, those hellish experiences, what's happening is the death of fear. The death of fear feels like a real death. But if you think about it, that's what animates, that's what gives you the idea that our death is real, that your consciousness doesn't go on beyond this human body. You have to smash that and cut those cords. This is a little bit hard to explain, but what I'm saying is, it's like because I've died in these ayahuasca and mushroom experiences, I can know that, and seen the so-called other side, and seen that like my consciousness outside of the body, outside of space and time, and all of these things, and I've seen that, but now I can be free to truly live, and know that these bodies, this hologram, all of this physical space are creations. It is a dream. It is not the essence of what we truly are. It is one aspect of us. You could have many other multidimensional aspects of you existing at the same time. The you that's in the 1700s, the you that's in the 1200s, the you that is primordial, like on some other planet, whenever it is, because time and space are not real in the way we think they are. I'm getting into really complex things here, and even I get confused sometimes, but the point is, fear, the object of my life has been to confront all the fears within myself. Die to them, let them consume me, go into the void, cry out those tears, cry out those deepest, darkest fears. And what I've learned is I control the power to go as deep as I want. I can confront more fear, confront more fear, and I know it's imaginary. It is imaginary in all of its forms. It is not true. There is nothing to fear. And once you kill that fear of death, there's nothing. You're fearless, and you know that we're powerful as one human race, and that television doesn't have power over you. It doesn't the way you think it does. And I was in that too, that trance of like, oh yeah, the television's right, everything it says is right, and the religion and the government and everything. And when you start bringing down all these walls, you say, oh, that's just a bunch of bullshit. It's just a bunch of puppet show, like nonsense, garbage. Literally a puppet show. And like all these lies that you start to see, and like things that you were holding back from doing that because of that fear. And then, like I said, once you cut that, the fear of death is the foundational fear of all things. And that's what I've dedicated my life to conquering, to going into it and dying to that fear, and seeing that we are eternal souls. We have been around forever. We will continue forever. We are in eternal consciousness. This is just one aspect. It's just one trip. It's just one mission. It's a creation. We did this all for the sake of learning. You would learn these lessons and those lessons, and these would be the characters, and this would be the bad guy, and this would be the good guy. But it's all love. The villain in your life is playing that role for you because he knew it would help it awaken to your truest and deepest self. Even the people that have committed horrendous atrocities, playing a role. It's just like it's like a Shakespeare community theater troupe that we just decided to say, oh, I want to play this character, you want to play that character, let's do all this, and we'll learn deeper forms of love, and then we'll just go back and return to our next adventure. So what I would say is fear is most definitely imaginary in all its forms, and when you confront it, you go into deeper forms of consciousness and deeper forms of creation, and you realize that there are infinite aspects to you, and you can do all this soul evolution and keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And what you think of as death is not really death, it's just the eternal evolution of your soul. So what I experience now is a much more fluid experience with consciousness, where I'm going new places, I'm traveling in dimensions, I'm going to places. When you cut away all this illusion that you're just a human body, and you're like, wow, there's so many different aspects to my consciousness. And now, because it's more freed, I can almost, even when I go to sleep sometimes, I feel like I'm on a jetway, because I know that in my multidimensional aspects, I'm going to go off and do tons of cool stuff when I sleep. Talk to people in my higher dimensional aspects, because your consciousness never goes to sleep. It's doing something in some other dimension, because you're existing simultaneously in all of them. So I would say that fear, go into your deepest fears. It's all inside you. There's nothing outside you. And I've found the most effective way is to just, there's nothing to achieve out there. It's just like, the only thing I've dedicated myself to is confront the fears, confront the traumas, cry out the sadness, cry out all the ancient stuff. After that, you're eternal perfection, you're virtuoso, you're all of that. So you just need to clear out all the mind programs, the fear, the stuff that was passed down to you, the stuff in the collective fear field, but it's all inside you. It's all inside all of us, and we're doing it together as one family.